could be like, let's say you woke up in a really good mood, right? And you're like, I'm feeling it today. Like, I'm not going to stress my kids about school today. I don't know. It's Friday maybe, right? And I'm just feeling giving. My kid, it doesn't matter if they behaved or if they misbehaved or if they were sick or they weren't sick. If I decide to give them a day off of school, they get a day off of school just because I was in a good mood. Ever have this? Do you ever feel like, yeah? Like sometimes, and it's like, they didn't do anything to stir any emotion. No, you're like, no, everyone go to school.
I wouldn't say that the day from school, but
maybe something else. Or maybe like, oh yeah, sure. Like you just say yes to like a candy in the store because you're just feeling it, right? Or like you just
connect. I mean, I always say to the child, like, positive things, why I'm
why you're doing it. To pump them up, right.
Yesterday I took my son to Dunkin' Donuts after school, and I was like, so proud of how you're doing this week. You went to school so well after vacation, because like,
right.
Why not?
So I'll give you another example. Let's say I was just in Israel and I had a lot of shliach mitzvah money, right? People were like sending me whatever. My mother gave me like $200 and she's like, go give it around to Israel. Fine. So I like to break it into small things and I walk around by the coastal. That day when I had a lot of money and I was feeling like a lot of money, whatever. I was feeling like in a giving mode and I was making my way to the coastal and I haven't been there in 2 years. I was walking around. It didn't matter if there was a lady there, the registering lady or like this lady or the guy. He's not in Google anymore. That guy who's no. And I'm like so sad. I don't know what happened to him. I'm like, track him down. It's been many years. But like when you're in a giving mood and you have it within you, you're magnanimous. That is that feeling of chachma. There's I can give to anybody, and it's chesed. Yeah, sorry, not chachma. Chesed. That's the root of love. When you're feeling big, you can give. I always think of Avram. Avram's tent was open on 4 sides, right? He was always ready to give. He was always in a giving mood. He was always happy and like, everybody gets to stay home from school today. Whatever, if that's what it is for giving. So that's the idea of chachma. But, chesed. Chesed is always giving. No containment. Gvura is the other opposite, the other extreme, which, by the way, is related to Yitzchak. Yitzchak who never left Eretz Yisrael, right? Yitzchak who was literally bound, like Kedas Yitzchak. And that's, by the way, always associated with what Midah? Yira, and even more, Gvura, starts with a Dalid, ends with a Nun. Din, right? Din, we think of judgment as scary, but it's not really scary. It's just containment, right? It's just holding things in. So Gvura is holding things in, and that's the root of awe and the root of respect, right? That's like, doesn't matter if you have 105 fever. I don't feel like you are really sick, so I'm going to send you to school. Or people are holding out money, and I'm not sure if my mother would always be like, they're gypsies. I'm like, what are gypsies? Like, they don't need I was like, such a weird concept. Always? Anybody else say that? Like, I'm like, gypsies. I'm like, in my mind, gypsies like have like a thing on their head and they're holding a magic 8 ball, right? Like, so like, she's like, no, don't give to that person. You're a gypsy, right? So din is me saying, I have the money, but I don't feel like you deserve the money, right? You might like be feeling like not so good, but I still feel like you should be going to school. I am right now in a state of boundaries. You had vacation for a week, you took an extra day, by the next day it's time to go to school, right? So that's containment. That's not a bad thing. And by the way, we do this all the time, like with like Havdalah. Like think about it. When we make Havdalah, we say Hamabdul and Kol Shechol. Having divisions is good. Having boundaries is good. Right. Okay. So now we have Chesed, which is giving. Gvura, which is holding back. That's the root of love and the root of Yira. And now there's this middle faculty, this middle Midah. And what is that? Starts with MS. MS, yes, which is associated with who? Yaakov. And it's the name in the Sphira. In Sphiros, it's, what's right over here? Netzach is a leg. Hod is also another leg. What? We need a sign here. I'm going to get a sign. Tiferes, yes. Oh my God. Tiferes. Yay, Sarah. Crazy. Tiferes. Tiferes is harmony. I just met when we were in Israel, Rav Judah Michel. If anybody knows him, he's involved in HASC. He's like one of my favorite people in the entire world. And we met him. If anyone was listening to my voice notes, I was saying how I met him, and he looked so sad, and he was telling me how his 2 daughters moved into his house because his sons-in-laws are in the army, and one of his daughters, so I was like, you know what, like more than visiting on the army base, like I need to go visit these girls. Like they're 18 and 22, like, or whatever, they're 20 and 22. They're both of them living, one of them is 8 months pregnant, and the other one, her last Sharabachos was Hoshana Rabbah. And then her husband went off to war. Like literally the next day, and she hasn't seen him since. She speaks to him very, whatever. and her name is Tiferes. And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm learning about Tiferes now. Like, I never understood when these people I'm a crazy lady. Like when I named my daughter Bina, I didn't know what Bina was, and now it's like all I talk about is Chachma Bina Das, right? So Tiferes, like now I'm starting to learn so much about these names. Watch, all my grandchildren are going to be like, Tiferes, oh, like where are you? Like, you know. I guess be like, why did you name me this? I'm like, yeah, because these are midos. This is who we are. So this idea of Tiferet being harmony, beautiful. Why is that beautiful? What is Tiferet? If Chesed is, I'm going to give you all the money that I have because I am just in a giving mode, and Gvura is like, you don't deserve it, I'm going to hold back. What is Tiferet? The in-between. So Tiferet is like, I am going to give money, not to the gypsy, but to the, that woman who's sitting over there who's literally went to Rachel Imenu's caver and has the real red strings. I'm going to give it to her because she needs it, right? Tiferes is saying, wait, 1 second, let me take your temperature. Okay, you don't have temperature, right? You don't, but you threw up in the last 24 hours. I feel like this is the right decision for you to stay home, right? But that's a balance of Chesed and Gvura. So that's Tiferes, okay? So now we're saying, if you're not feeling love, tap into Tiferes. Tap into Tiferes. What is the midah of Tiferes? So there's a midah of Tiferes, there's a Hebrew word that explains what Tiferes is. It's actually that trait of it. If we said, if Chesed is love and Gevura is Yira, then what is Tiferes? Tiferes is, it's Rachamim. That's what it's referred to, right? Like Rachamim, like you have Rachmanis on somebody. What does that mean when you have Rachmanis on somebody? Mercy, right? It's like and where does that bring you? Where does that mercy bring you? Does the mercy bring you to Yira or does the mercy bring you to Ava? Ava. So really,
it sounds like compassion.
It's compassion, yeah.
If you don't feel loved or if you don't feel like giving love.
Let's say you don't feel...
So which one, both?
If you don't feel
Probably
I woke up
both.
today and I'm not feeling love towards anyone, or I don't feel love for myself. It's totally different feelings.
So we're going to talk about how to find love for yourself in a minute. So that I'm so happy you brought that up. So this is how to give to other people and also to Hashem. To Hashem.
Like Rachamim, I also see as something that's not so clear cut as being like, oh, this is something you should give chesed to, or this is something you should.
It's the gray,
right? It's the gray. So it's like,
that's such a good example, right? That's very
Rachmanis is like
the kid was acting out.
But no, Rachmanis is like a teacher who sees a kid who's acting out, and
Vera would say, kick them out of the class.
Vera is saying, kick them out of school. And Chesed would be like, let everything slide. Rachamim would be like, understanding that a child is developing and difficult and whatever.
Right.
Like seeing.
And maybe they should be the kid who goes to get the copies from the office.
Right, exactly.
And like, that kid who always gets sent to the office, right? Is that you? Who was the one who went to copy? So let's go drop further. So that's expressed as Rachamim. Sorry, we're taking so much time to Chazar. We have 10 minutes. Okay, compassion. Compassion is the combination of love and awe. Chesed and kindness is like unadulterated love. I don't discriminate. Everybody can have. Gevura is saying, it's the opposite. Gevura is din and judgment. Okay, so din is discrimination, which, like Shaitab was saying, like discrimination is such a trigger word. Like, we don't discriminate. But like, if you discriminate, if you only discriminate, that's not good either. But if you're only giving, that's not good either. And that's where the idea of harmony and Tiferes comes in. Okay, so Chesed says, I have to look at how worthy the person is to see if they receive it, because I'm in a mode of giving. And Gevura is the opposite, saying I'm judging the worthiness of this person. I'm saying this person doesn't need it. And then comes Rachamim and says, I'm going to give the money and the free day and all of that to the person who deserves it. Okay, so in Chapter 45, he tells us that in Rachamim, if you can't tap into your Rachamim, I feel like I'm like rushing. If you can't tap into the Rachamim, then if you can't tap into love, the regular route, go the back door, and then you will access Rachamim. Okay, so now he says, how do you access Rachamim for Hashem? Because everything is about connecting back to Hashem. So what do we have to think about? We have to think about this concept that we have to start. It's almost like the word I would say is pity, right? Like I feel bad for that person, right? So how do we access it to Hashem? We feel pitiful for Hashem. Why do we feel pitiful for Hashem? We conjure up this image in our head of like Hashem being up on Shemayim. And then Hashem gave a little piece of himself to all of us. And that piece, that nitzutz is inside of us, and it's stuck. and it's not happy, and it can't do the things that it wants. It's very much constricted. It's very much restrained, right? Like, it's like very much like suppressed sometimes because of our animal soul and because of our guf. So that piece of Hashem, which is Ein Sof, is now being restricted, and I feel so bad for that part. So once I evoke that pity and I have that rachamim, by the way, and it gets worse, like you were saying, it gets even worse, like if I actually like do an avera. Like imagine how that nitzutz feels. Like Hashem's like, why are you doing this to me? Right? So that idea, that this concept is, and he refers to it, it says it in Shirashim, it says, Melech asa b'rehitim. Rehitim is like a Hebrew word for gutter. I was a kid, my mother was like, don't go to the gutter, right? Like what? I was like, it's a street, right? Do you remember that? Do anybody say gutter now? Nobody. Yeah, you say gutter? Get out of the gutter. Do you know what a gutter is? No, you're like, I never know what? Get your head out of the gutter, right? Get your head out of the gutter. So what is it? I imagine it, like, you know in Israel, like there's like, in the road, there's like that little piece where the water, the dirty water goes. That's the gutter, right? Where all the water is going into the sewage. So this idea where Melech, that Hashem is stuck in the gutter. Literally, he's in our body that's like doing all these wrong things, and it's animalistic, and it's physical, and it's doing averos, and it's in there, so it's in the gutter. So we say, get your head out of the gutter, like Sarah was saying, like pull Hashem out of that, and that's how you have pity. So you have to take him out of the gutters of the mind. He says that he explains it in a very it's a very good mashal. He says like it's like a stream of consciousness. Like imagine like water flowing, right? Or in a gutter, right? And your thoughts flowing. And the godly soul is kind of like in the gutter. It's like getting just lost. Even if it's not dirty water, it's still just getting lost. It's like a lake that like just takes it away, like a stream that takes it away. You want to remember that this part of Hashem is inside of you, and the second you feel that and you remember it, you will feel compassion. You're going to feel bad for that thing. Like sometimes, I don't know, this happens, like you're in a stream, right? And your kid drops something in the stream. And then you're like, oh my gosh, where is it? You have to like chase it and run after it. That's what Hashem's neshama feels like. It's flowing in dirty waters. It's in the gutter. You want to take it out. And then the second you feel that, once you deposit that little, we're talking about this meditation concept to think about, automatically you're going to start to feel compassion. So we have to remember that once you meditate on that emotion, you're thinking about a situation, and that will lead you to compassion. Okay? He says actually, by the way, that this is like a drop. This is probably where I need a little chazara with Sarah. He gave us an example. This story, this concept, it can be explained in the story of Yaakov Avinu and Rachel. So Yaakov, we said Yaakov is emes, right? Yaakov is Tiferes. Yaakov is this ability to find balance between love and fear, right? So Yaakov Avinu, it says when he first met Rachel, what did he do? When he met her at the well, what did he do? What's the first thing he did?
He gave her a jug to fill the water.
That was Rivka. That was Eliezer. No, close.
Oh, feed the camels.
Before she fed the camels, what did he do? He ran over to her. He gave her a hug, right?
Oh, right. Oh,
we know the story?
They like blurred over that.
Yeah, they blurred over that.
On the first date.
He gave her a hug and a kiss, and he cried.
I remember
Scandalous.
her and being like shocked. Because also, she was like a very little girl. Oh, no,
that was Rivka. Rachel was 16. No, I'm kidding. I don't know how old she was. I don't know how old she was, but it says that he met her at the well. He gave her a hug, he gave her a kiss, and then he lifted his eyes up and he cried out. Do you remember that? And then I remember always learning that he cried because he saw he wasn't going to be buried with her.
Right.
Right.
Why do I remember
A nose ring. That was Rivka. Rivka got the nose rings and the bracelets. Right. She got a huge dowry. Rachel was like, I'm not going to marry the guy that I love for 7 years, right? Okay. So this concept of compassion can be likened to this story. So let's explain what the story is. So Yaakov, who embodies Tiferes, who embodies compassion and Rachamim, meets Rachel. Rachel, the neshama of Rachel, by the way, the neshamas of Rachel and Leah, by the way, one time we must do this series on learning about who Rachel and Leah are. They're literally two pillars that the world is standing on. They're not just people. They are the biggest concepts in the entire world. So Rachel actually represents Knesset Yisrael, that she is the collective neshama of all the Jewish people. Think about it. Rachel mevaka al banah, like we daven by Kever Rachel to evoke compassion, right? the words of is it Navi or Chumash or Chumash? Okay, I just started Nachomi, so now I'm very into the Navi. Yes.
Yesterday's the first day.
Yesterday's the first day. It's learning
I'm
like
seeing Malki posted.
No, it's amazing.
it's learning
And there's a
Navi.
big
We're starting with
scene on
Yeshua.
Sunday. I don't know when.
Yeah. I don't know if I should do the scene before I started,
Oh.
but so
I
that's from Chumash. Yeah, where he says like Rachel Mavakal, she's the one who's going to bring us back because she is the collective Jewish people. We go to Davimeir. So it says that Yaakov is Rachamim, Yaakov is Tiferes. He meets Rachel, who's that personification of Knesset Yisrael.